I'm so excited. I've got an electrician coming today to help me with the panel. So I have a few things to finish up before that can happen. As you can see, I put a light switch in. I need to put a cover on it, but I put a light switch in that goes to both this light and the floodlight. So that's in. I've got this huge mess of wires for him to deal with, but I'm sure he's much better equipped than I am to figure that out. They are all labeled, so that's a plus. A little bit of extra wire in case that's necessary. And then I'm gonna actually try before he gets here to hook up the inverter and the batteries and see if we can actually make this kind of a viable system and all ready for the solar to plug in. So that's what's happening today. We have a little problem. This controller is 11 inches tall and it needs 6 inches of space on the bottom and 6 inches of space on the top in order to get enough airflow. And that equals 23 inches, and my space is only 21 inches tall. So I think what I'm going to do is put it on the back wall next to the door, so there'll be a little gap there between the bed and the door, and so I think that'll get it enough on top. And then I can just put it up 6 inches from the bottom, and I don't know, hope for the best. I don't have another place to put it, so that's just gonna have to work. But I think there will be a lot of airflow because if I just leave that, there's a gap. There's a little gap between the bottom of the bed and the top of the garage. And if I leave that just open, just make it open and not cover the garage like I had been thinking about doing, then I think we'll be just fine because there'll be plenty of room. You know, I could have designed things better if I'd thought them through ahead of time, but we're dealing with what we're dealing with. So there you go. Okay, this is baffling. What I've got left to wire is something that has 2 connection points and something that has 4 connection points. And what they sent me was a wire with 3 connection points. And the manual isn't a lot of help. I guess it's time to go online. So she's got 6 inches below and she's got 4.5 inches to the bottom of the bed. But there's all this space, and I'm not going to fill this with anything. I was going to fill it with some insulation, but I will just leave it open, and that will give plenty of airflow for the controller. It does mean that the bed might be a little chilly, but that's a small price to pay. I can always put on more blankets. These batteries can't get cold. They can't get really cold, like freezing. So I will definitely have to take them in the winter. But when we start up to leave in, say, March, it's going to be super cold. So I want to set them up so they won't be freezing at night until we get to warmer climates. So I'm going to put an inch of insulation underneath, and then I found this old seed warming mat, and I'll put that underneath so I can plug it in and keep their little bottoms toasty. This thing's been rolled up in a closet for a while, so I had to tape it down in order to get it affixed. But then it can plug right into the inverter, and I will just cover it with this 1-inch foam, and then it should be nice and toasty, or at least they should not freeze. The inverter can't get wet, and this garage is not really very far from the water tank. So I am setting up a little platform using some of those edges that we cut off the shelf in front. And I'll just get it up a little bit so that, I mean, obviously if there's a big flood, it won't be enough, but if we get a little trickle of water, the inverter should be safe. And a note from the did I turn off the oven file? So I almost pulled this puppy off to make sure that I had wired it up right. And then I remembered I did a video. So I was able to go back and look, and yes, I did wire it properly. So now we can take the wires that come in here and take them into the inverter, and everything will be golden. And I have the inverter wired. So these three come in from the breaker. I've got a 30 amp breaker because I've got a 120 service that can come in from a plug on the side of the bus. That comes in here. And then this is going to go out to my panel, my electrical panel. So we're wired. Now I just have to get everything set up, and we're not wired at the breaker panels because I'm too intimidated by that. So I'm going to get somebody else to do this and to do this. But I'm pretty ready for him.